Hey, it's Brooklyn Lou, the skeptic, former evangelical, now turned atheist. And I'm an older fellow. I'm in my 60s, and I've seen a lot in my country. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is that I've seen a change in what people call Christianity in America. And it's pretty obvious to me that these changes have been happening over time, and American Christianity has changed. It's evolved, which only makes sense to me. You know, being an atheist, I believe in evolution, and I believe in evolution as far as physical things, but also culturally. Cultures evolve and even religions evolve. And one of the things that seems really, really bothersome to me is that I've seen a shift in Christianity to being very performative at its foundation. And what I mean by that is I watched in the late 90s and early 2000s a shift in Christian perspective when we went into an era where Christians were becoming seeker sensitive. The churches were becoming seeker sensitive. And of course, I'm talking about the movement created and inspired by people like Robert Schuller, Bill Hybels, Rick Warren. There was a time when this was very prominent, and it changed Christianity. And it seems to have made Christianity much more of a business, a multimedia business. You see, Christians felt that in order to recruit people who were not Christians, that they had to make their sanctuaries very comfortable. You know, it became very important for people to feel good when they went to church. There's a real emphasis here. I mean, seats had to be properly cushioned, auditoriums set up in a way that made everyone comfortable. And I remember being a Christian and looking back and remembering the times when people would say, "You got to come over to my church." Well, why? Because at my church, you're just going to love it. And I would visit the church and everything would be perfect. The air conditioning just set right. The seats were comfortable. The music was a little bit better than what I had experienced at another church. Everyone was love bombing, welcoming you in, you know, welcome home, everybody. And afterwards, I'd have people coming up to me asking me, "What do you think of the church?" And I'd be like, "It's really nice. What else can I say? It was comfortable." Okay. And this became a recruiting method to recruit people into church. How wonderful the church was, how entertaining it was. And Christianity was changing in America. And we've gotten to a point now where it is total business at most big churches. It's about business in terms of making money, and churches have become a multimedia corporation masquerading as churches. They sell books. They have coffee shops. They sell merchandise. They have marketing strategies, and they use technology. The church is set up as a theater because it really is performative. When you go to a mega church, and you understand what's going on, they will recruit pastors, worship leaders, and other leaders that they employ from around the country, not from within their own fellowship, so to say, because they want to audition you to see if you're entertaining enough. Does the pastor communicate effectively? Does he appear good on stage? Does the worship leader have talent? Are the musicians up to high professional standards? What about the staging, the background? Those big screen TVs, so to say, might have one in the middle, and some churches have them placed on the sides as well. So everyone's experience can be a positive one. I don't get it how Christians fall for this, or they need this in their lives. They need to be entertained at a high level. What this has to do with God, I still haven't figured it out, folks, but it's very real. Worship leader goes to get a job at a church. It's more like an audition for American Idol. That's what it is. It's not about how holy they are or how well they know the scriptures. It's totally performative. Same way when they get into interviewing for lead pastor at a megachurch. It's about charisma. In the megachurch, they have a green room. Yeah, a green room. Just like entertainers on tour. They have a place where the performers stay. And then they do their performance, and then they go back to the green room. And I mention the green room because obviously the green room comes out of the entertainment business. And these churches aren't even ashamed of that. They call it a green room. And churches today aren't even ashamed that they run their church as a business. They have leadership conferences. But imagine leadership conferences where they lift up business people. Okay? Now, this is a big change over the last 40 years for me, because I remember when it really wasn't like that. Right? And Christianity is changing. Seems like, at least when I became a Christian, there was more sincerity in trying to read the Bible, maybe understand these things a little better. There was an emphasis on holiness. I don't agree with any of this anymore, but it was different. Now it's about who can entertain, who's a powerful speaker. When they set up a stage at a mega church, guys, they will invest typically over $500,000 to $1 million just in the stage. Okay. And then, of course, this includes special lighting, technicians, sound engineers, buildings that are set up acoustically proper, just so that people can get entertained. And they call this Christianity. And it's so bizarre. I mean, you talk to a regular Christian nowadays that goes to a typical mega church. I talk to them and they don't have much understanding of scripture. The pastors go on stage and they put one scripture up on, a presentation, and then they go off and they give a whole big filler, something that's more entertaining to keep people's interest in the scripture. So they go off on a verbal presentation, a public speaking presentation. That's what they do in mega churches. They're performative. It's just a performance, folks. And it's sad.